I know you and Evan have been in the middle of getting those Shopify integrations done
Yeah,
for
and
a couple of clients.
that's another interesting one. So Shopify has they've switched from their REST API to a GraphQL API. And so if you're signing up new, you have to use the GraphQL integration for any of your apps. And it's just a little different. The GraphQL syntax, not syntax, queries process is a little different than a standard REST API. So you reference all sorts of different items. Um, it's a little more, it's a little it's just a different way of looking at it. I don't know how to say it politely, but with REST API, you would just ask for an order. It would give you everything associated with an order. And unfortunately, that could include, without uh, dialing it down to get the specific fields that you want in that request, that could include a ridiculous amount of data. And then if you asked for, 100 records, it would give you just a very big chunk of payload to then sort through. And there's cost on the server. Even if you don't need that information, there's no reason to request it. But it was an all-in kind of thing unless you specifically selected the fields that you wanted it to return. Which a lot of times when you do an API integration, it's like we want to take everything on the order because we don't want to miss anything. If something gets added that's in a weird spot associated with the order for whatever reason, you don't want to miss that. Know that it's hidden, buried down in some uh, in some sub table somewhere. So with the GraphQL, you do have to know that they're there, and then you have to go and find them, and so it's just a little bit different. It's not. It's just a different way of thinking about it versus the rest. So there's a little bit more lift. You have to do more loops to get the individual pieces of data at the lower. For I'm gonna use the wrong terms, but yeah, when you're in there and you're getting different, they reference them as nodes instead of in the REST API. A lot of it is meta fields. So the meta fields, you can have all sorts of different things under meta fields, and those are sort of like a open-ended variable that can be loaded, or not variable, an open-ended sort of bucket for data to be put in different fashions. And with the GraphQL version, you have to expressly access it as a node and pull the individual ones that you need. And so they have some limits in there. But yeah, that's been a difficult one for embedded systems that somebody's already written a REST API calls for, because the response was you get this big REST response, single REST response for, like, say, an order, and it has everything in that payload. And then FileMaker can go through and it'll say, you can go through it and you can say, if this, then do this, and if this, then do this. But the GraphQL side is more of a only give you what you want node wise. So you get some explicit order information at the top level, and then if you want any individual sub level, you have to request those individual sub levels and then iterate through them independently. So it just requires a slightly different setup.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like you're talking about like, line items in an order, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Line items or variants. Variants is the key one, right? Like,
Oh, okay.
let's say and a lot of our clients don't have variants, and that was sort of one of the cutoffs that we ran into. Is they had like an April, I think it was April 1st was the big cutoff for switching to the GraphQL version. And if you had variants in excess of 100, they would not be supported. And, like, fortunately, the clients that we use, they don't have variants like that. Variants would be like, let's say you had a style of shoes and you had it in 10 different colors and 10 different sizes. And each one of those are all under that same shoe, right? High top Converse. You have it in a blue, you have it in a green, you have it in a red. Every single one of those is a variant, but they're all under that main product. So if you went to do a pull for that product, um, you with all the variants, if you pulled just the product information, all the variant information would pull up. So if you had, and it's kind of like an exponent. So you'd have, 10 different colors, 5 different sizes, so that's like 50 right there. And so as far as the actual field counts of the data that you're getting back a lot of repetitive information for all the variants that are in there, because the variants can have very slight variations on what's supposed to come back. So yeah, anyway, a little bit of a learning process, but fortunately it didn't apply to any of the clients that we do we do Shopify stuff with. But going forward, you do have to use the GraphQL. So,
Okay.
It's interesting that Shopify is making that choice, switching to GraphQL. I've heard from a couple of different places that in the long run, FileMaker is going to be emphasizing the OData API, and at some point in the distant future, probably deprecating the REST API. I doubt that's going to be any time in the very near future, but something to think about if we have choices about which APIs we're implementing.